Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sree's daily global COVID-19 show. My name is Sree Sreenivasan, and it's my honor to host this daily conversation. We have people from around the world as we cover three crises on this show: health, economy, and race. We're always looking for guests and theme suggestions. Please send them to us. You have my email right there. We want to hear from you. Today, we're going back to Portland. We were there just last Monday. We're going back. Why? Because Portland, Oregon is in the midst of an unprecedented amount of turmoil as the federal government goes after peaceful protesters. We speak to folks there in the know. We did that last Monday, and here we are again. We're going to be meeting three people and taking your comments. Please share this with your friends. We're live on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. Find Sree Sreenivasan. There are actually a lot of people with that name, but see if you can find me at Sree on Twitter and share this, please, with your family and friends. They should learn what's happening right now in Portland. It's so important. Please have them share and visit with us. We're honored today to host a conversation with Bernie Foster, publisher of The Skanner, the leading Black regional newspaper in Portland, serving the Pacific Northwest. We're also joined by Randall Wyatt, founder of Ownership Pdx, an organization we learned about just last week. And Beth Nakamura will be with us, photojournalist of The Oregonian. They'll be with us in just a couple of minutes. Please share this with your friends. Hi, everybody. I'm Sree Sreenivasan. Delighted to be with all of you. I'm the Marshall Loeb Visiting Professor of Digital Innovation at Stony Brook School of Journalism and co-founder of Digimentors, a social, digital, and virtual events consulting business. Our motto: don't cancel your in real life event or set up your virtual event without talking to us. Sree at sree.net. We'd love to talk to you. We do events for 50 people and 100,000 people and everything in between. We want to thank our sponsors for making this possible, because without them, there would be no show. Let me tell you a little bit about this show. We run in partnership with Scroll.in, one of India's leading news, information, and culture websites. But we have viewers around the world. We've had more than 1 million people see our shows, 88 million social impressions. We've had more than 230 guests from 48 cities, 13 countries, doctors, nurses, journalists, authors, CEOs, founders, teachers, professors. And we're so grateful to all of them. You can find our archives at youtube.com/Sreenet. Our producers are Rose Horowitz at Rose Horowitz 31 and Vandana Menon, Vandana_Menon. Please share this with your friends. Tell us where you're watching from. Let's thank our sponsors. We're grateful to Muckrack Academy for Fundamentals of Social Media, a course they paid for me to put together for all of you. More than 4,000 people have taken this free certification course on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram, and LinkedIn. Please check out mrac.co/social and take this free certificate class. You can do it in about 2 hours or 2 months or 2 days. Check out mrac.co/social. We're also brought to you by She's on Call, a show about medicine and healthcare, and it runs every Sunday. Yesterday, July 26th, they had a special back-to-school edition that you need to go and watch right now. In fact, skip our show and go watch that. Dr. Heather Klaus was here, who's an infectious diseases doctor at Temple University, and Dr. Sally Goza was here, president of the American Academy of Pediatrics, and Donna Mazik, executive director and former president of the National Association of School Nurses. Incredible lineup, hosted by my friends Dr. Sujana and Dr. Marina, two surgeons in New York, every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Please join them. We're also brought to you by Nunbelievable, deliciously divine cookies on a mission. Each box of handcrafted cookies purchased provides 2 meals for those in need. Use the code Sree, S-R-E-E, for 20% off. Nunbelievable. Please check them out. Divinely delicious cookies on a mission. And our final sponsor is a video sponsor.
Hotstar Premiere Nights. Watch the year's biggest blockbusters streaming straight to your screen, exclusively on Hotstar.
All right, so please check out hotstar.com/US. And with that, we're ready for our guests. I'm giving them a heads up that I'm bringing them on screen right now so that they can be with us. Our topic, Portland still in crisis. Bernie Foster and Randall Wyatt will start us off, and Beth Nakamura will be joining us. So please say hello to my new friends, Bernie Foster and Randall Wyatt. Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Fine. How are you today?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Great to have you with us. Thank you for being here. Your city is in turmoil, and it's not self-inflicted. It is being affected from the outside world. But my first question to both of you is what I always start my show. How are you? How's your family doing through the crisis? Mr. Foster, we'll start with you.
Oh, we're doing great. Nothing. All the family is great. We're doing great. I'm just happy to be on your show and being able to share my views and ideas with your particular viewers. So we're doing great out here.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear it. Let's go to Randall Wyatt.
Yeah, I have to say we're doing great too. My sons, as you see up here, they're a lot older now, but they're doing great. I'm just really, things kind of took a 180 turn for me with taking Ownership Pdx, so I'm kind of just playing catch up and learning a lot right now. But it's a beautiful thing to see the support that we're getting and to be able to actually make some real change right now.
Terrific. Beth Nakamura is with us. We're just going to wait for her. She's just going to join us in a minute. She's just getting set in the green room, and she'll be with us. Let me start with you, Mr. Foster. Tell us a little bit about the Skanner and its history and its background, and then tell us what the heck is going on in Portland.
Well, the Skanner been around pretty close to 45 years. We started in 1975. As a matter of fact, we started about 8 years after the Kerner report. Now, if you're not familiar with the Kerner report, that was a report that came out in about 1960, right after the riots. And one of the things that they said quite early then was there was not enough black folks in newsroom. There was not enough people getting jobs. There was not economic disadvantage. And one of the most important elements, and you see it today, was the police. That was in 1965. And the reason that Skanner started, one of the things that I'm very fortunate for me, I was able to work at the Seattle Times as the advertising director. They wanted to hire me to be in the newsroom. And I said at that time, why do I want to be in the newsroom when I can help shape and get a view on the issue that I think is important to me? So we started the Skanner just with that background in 1975.
God bless. Tell us about what's happening in Portland from your point of view. From the outside, it looks like it's in terrible shape in this one part of town.
Well, it's not in just one part of town. As a matter of fact, I'm on Killingsworth out here, and it's over here a couple of weeks ago. Not very much, but you find the demonstrators are quite skillful. So they'll hit one part of town and then do another part of town. So they're not concentrated in all the areas. And one of the things that they're doing now, they've adapted some of the Japanese methods of blowing these leaf blowers, and they turn those on, which blow the tear gas away from them and back toward the police. And as a matter of fact, when they shoot the canisters at them, you probably heard this, they'll get all down with umbrellas, and those things bounce off the umbrella. So they're quite tactful. But the hardcore, I have to say this, the hardcore one comes out probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And by the way, I just want to say this. People out here, they enjoy their peaceful demonstration. That's why the moms and the dads and the kids, and they'll bring their children in. And what's taking place right now is just, I think it's kind of losing. It's not the pulling police now. It appears to be that the demonstrators and it's the fellow troopers that are at odds with each other. thereby I think they're losing the message.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. I'm just going to bring Beth Nakamura to join us. She's on deadline, so we're just going to bring her on here. Hi, Beth. How are you? Beth, can you hear me?
Nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Beth is a photographer at the Oregonian who's been doing groundbreaking work. Beth, could you first tell us how you're doing? Sorry, Bernie, what did you say?
Oh,
I just saw some of her work.
What's that?
Mr. Foster said that he's seen your work.
I'm well. Oh, okay, yeah. You know, we're elevating this, you know, out to the world, and we've been there since the beginning, since the killing of George Floyd and the uprising that took place both in Portland and around the country and really the world. So clearly that's pivoted with the feds having come into town, and now we're sort of getting wind that maybe, you know, upwards of 150 are on the way, possibly. So it's a bit of a powder keg situation, and that's truly how I feel about it, having been on the ground a lot. I'm going to be out there tonight. I'm just trying to have a little quiet time here and, you know, stay centered in it all. There's a lot that happens that, you know, before the sort of what I call the witching hour of, say, 11:30, 12, or as Mr. Foster said, 2 to 3, that also. And, you know, we can't control the how the narrative gets shaped nationally, though I work really hard to continually put out, you know, this what's happening on the ground in as much dimension as possible. That's a challenge. You know, I think the people of Portland, you know, aren't a monolith, of course, but you know, a lot of them would like the feds out. And, you know, people want justice here, I would say, my observation, for Black people around the country and certainly in this community. But they also want the feds out. So that's what I'm seeing broadly. There's, you know, we could write a book, but that book will not be written right now.
And are these some of the pictures that we're seeing here? Some of the pictures that you've been part of, and we're seeing on the screen here.
See your screen. Oh no, some of those. Yeah, that's my Twitter feed. So that's just my name, @Beth Nakamura. So I try to tweet out from each event. Yeah, and that's a friend of mine. You know, I tweet out a bunch of stuff, not just my own work, but really just kind of trying to put out what's happening in the city. You know, for example, that too is Portland Street. You know, that was Sunday morning in another part of the city near where I live, and so much of the city. It's really a beautiful place. People should come visit. It's really a small section of the downtown area where this happens. Occasionally, it happens in North Portland, where the Portland Police Bureau Union Building is. But primarily now it's centered around, of course, the federal courthouse and the fence, which is sort of a flashpoint for protesters, and frankly has been since the protests have sort of dug their heels in that section, which is both the federal courthouse and also the Justice Center, side by side, conveniently.
Thank you, Beth.
So,
But we're having a little hard. It's a little hard to hear you. So if you can speak up, that would be great. I think it's because you're
sure. So
on your phone. That's okay. I think it's because you're on your phone. No problem. I'm going to go to Randall to hear his thoughts. Randall.
Yeah. So what's going on? And I'm not in the protests very often. I've been to a few. I spoke at a few rallies. I haven't been in the front lines long for a lot of reasons, and I've been pretty busy with developing this organization. But it's my understanding that, you know, they've been peacefully protesting, and then they've deployed federal agents out there who are definitely brutalizing protesters. Our PPB was doing it beforehand as well. So I just want to make that clear for people who haven't, who aren't in Portland, who may not know that we were having issues with our own police department as well, using brutal tactics, tear gassing, even when it was supposed to be banned. And I meet with the Black community a lot, and what we want is to defund the police and use that money to put it into resources that will actually serve our community, that will actually provide resources that do prevent crime, such as mental health support, health workers, whatever it be, create opportunities, livable jobs, things like that. So, like I said, I'm not out there that often, but that's what I'm hearing. That's what I see is going on. That's what's on the news. And, yeah.
Please talk to us about taking ownership Pdx. And Pdx, for people who aren't familiar, is the airport code for Portland.
Yeah. So taking ownership, it started as just an idea. I'm at PSU right now, finishing my bachelor's in social science and Black studies, and I've been reading a lot about systemic oppression, which comes in the form of obviously ownership. There's been exclusionary laws for hundreds of years that prevented Black and other marginalized communities from purchasing property, redlining, things like that. And then once there, a lot of Black families that have purchased property, they get priced out. There's been a lot of displacement in Portland. A lot of times they may not even have the resources to fix up their homes, to do the repairs necessary to keep their homes, because once they get to a certain point and they're looking a certain way, they start receiving fines, and they get liens that add up, and then they get put into a position where predatory lenders or predatory developers can come in and take their properties. And so I just thought of an idea of, there's so many allies that wanted to find a way to help. So I just created an avenue to where they could donate money, donate their time, donate resources, and they have a lot of trust in me. So that I've been taking donations and resources and volunteers, and we've been going around to Black home owners and business owners and repairing their homes so that they can build some sweat equity and gain some property value in those communities. And of course, we got to be mindful of not raising the property taxes too much to where they can't afford them. So I have a team of realtors, that help advocate, architects, contractors, and the goal is to try to keep Black Portlanders in their homes, in their communities, so they don't continue to get pushed out.
I love that. And Lauren Gaucher, who was on our show last week, talked about this, and I loved hearing about it. I'm so grateful you are here. Can you talk about what it's like to be working with the African-American community in what is known as the whitest big city in America?
Well, I'm a Portland native, so I was born in the Black community. I grew up in Northeast Portland, so grew up in the Black community. It's beautiful to me because it is so easy to not see the Black community. You really, so I'm really happy that I'm tapped in, and I have that relationship with the Black community. They trust me, and you know how it is to be with people who have similar experiences as yours. It's just a beautiful thing to be able to serve people I grew up with, the families I've seen my whole life, and understanding the historical trauma and oppression that we've experienced, to be a part of the progress is amazing. Yeah,
let's go to Mr. Foster to talk about the Skanner, Skanner, your publication. Tell us why it's Skanner first.
Well, that's quite easy. We started with the C, and somebody else had the C, so we couldn't use the C. So my wife changed it from C to K, and I was listening at the young man from PDX. I don't know how the Portland haven't acquired that name, but you might want to. If they haven't gotten it, you better register it yourself real quickly. But I just want to say, let me just switch up because I think this is important. There's a lot of people that's really afraid here. I had a woman that's 73 years old, lives out in Southeast. She called me last Tuesday, and she kept telling me that a big old helicopter was flying around the house. So I called Jeff Merkley's office. We checked into it, but it wasn't a helicopter. It was a C-123 Air Force marking that came from Denver, Colorado. So that's what they were flying around all night. And so they if you ever been in service, you understand those big heavy engines, because we don't get those kind of heavy engines flying around the houses out here. So it's a lot of people that really afraid that's what's happening here. And I think people need to understand that. And more importantly, a guy by the name Bill Diaz, it's on our website tonight, and he talks about the Constitution, what it means to being able to come in and pick up people, round them up, no markings on their car, no markings on their uniform, no police badges. As a matter of fact, one at the city council meeting last week, I think you'll find this interesting. Our new chief of police said that he didn't see anything wrong with having policemen tell people to get out the area. And one of the city council dug him real deeply. And she said, are you saying that didn't go somewhere else? He said, yeah, that they can go somewhere else, and they can also not be arrested. She said, you need to check with the attorneys. Have you checked with your attorneys? Have you checked with the city attorney? Because I don't think you really understand that. Now, this is our new chief of police. Now, we got a long ways to go here, man. It's really frightening when your chief of police don't know the rules of the First Amendment, which is the right of a free press and the right to assemble. That's what he didn't understand. But I'm sure he had a lesson since then. That's kind of one thing that I really want to make real clear. And we do have a couple of ladies that running for, black females that running for the a new position. One we have a lady that's already on city council, and we had a Joanne Bowman that not Joanne Bowman that's running. Excuse me, let me back up. A lady that's running for city council, and if it is happening, it'll if she make it, it'll be 2 black females on the city council. Now it may not be, because Joanne Hardesty, one of the city council members, came out other day and said she wanted her constituency not to vote for Loretta Smith. So I asked her, I said, well, look, isn't that unprecedented? When do a city council step over and endorse who they want to become city council? She waffled and gave a good creative answer, but it's unheard of.
Thank you, Mr. Foster, and I want to say thank you for having my photo on your website. I think I can retire now. I can see it right on the screen. You're promoting the show. I appreciate it. It means so much. I see it's also on the day that the John Lewis memorials are happening, and he crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge for his final time today. Yeah. It's a very moving day. I had the honor, sir, of meeting him, and it was a life-altering moment to spend time with him. He said, when I told him I was a journalism professor, he said, thank you for teaching journalists, because without them, we couldn't have done what we did during the civil rights movement. And I never forgot that moment, and may he rest in power. And we were thinking of him today.
I met him, but I never had a real conversation with him. I met him several times through our association when he came and spoke. Good man.
Of course. Great man. Let's go to Beth. Beth is only with us for a few minutes. Beth, reflect on the dangers to the press when you're out there, and how dangerous is it for just everyone else who's there? And they seem to be these federal agents are the problem. I know we heard from Randall that the police, local police, were also a problem, but it's really these federal troops that are scaring folks. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Beth.
You're breaking up a lot, Sree, but I hope you can hear me now. We are, they're pretty aggressive. I think, several of us in the press have taken a beating, both from, more so from the federal police, but also from Portland police. People who are just, practicing what is their protected right to do, which is to stand there, and they're getting gassed, and you've seen the videos by now. And that, you know, we're no exception there. My colleague Dave Killen, who's out there as much if not more than I am, was hit really hard last night with a rubber bullet, which doesn't sound like much, but it's, you know, sort of yay big, and it threw him down on the ground. People are hospitalized. 2 more people, at least that we know of, have gone into hospital. You know, you've heard the stories, and we don't have any greater protection than anyone else. The ACLU did take the Portland Police Bureau to court, and there was a ruling to allow us to stay past when there would be dispersals, when it was declared, oh, I forget what it's called, right before the riot. You know, they have a couple of steps toward when they declare riot.
We seem to have lost Beth. Randall, just reflect on a little bit of what you've heard already, and you said you don't go out there that much, but you have been in rallies.
So yeah, it's not safe. It is not safe. It's not safe for anyone. It's not safe for us.
I also want to point out that I
just want to underscore what your other 2. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that in the Washington Post, a doctor wrote a story about how rubber bullets have a core of metal. So they're not some innocuous thing, right? There's metal in there and you can get hurt. We had somebody who lost her eye, a photographer who lost her eye with a rubber bullet. So please be careful, Beth, when you're out there.
Holding up the speaker and yeah, literally just standing there. You know, had skull fractures after he was hit in the head. And you know, serious and head injury, seriously injured. I mean, it goes on and on. You know, it is concerning what's happening with journalists there. At the same time, I don't want to take away from you know, what's happening with regular folks there who are exercising their protected right to literally stand there, which is what most of them are doing. Of course, they're for a group who are increasingly agitating the police, I think in part to try to elicit a response from the police, which will in fact prove the theory that police are overly militarized and aggressive and need to be defunded. That's my read on some of that. I don't know what your other guests think. But.
Thank you, Beth. As we're watching, Beth, as we're watching your work, how worried should the rest of America be if what's happening in Portland comes to Chicago, New York, and other big cities?
Sorry, is that for me?
No, I was asking Beth before. Yeah.
My bad. Sorry.
It's okay. No, Beth, go ahead. How worried should we be if what's happening in Portland comes to other cities?
I think Portland is a unique place. I think, you know, it's obviously backfired here. I mean, we're getting crowds that match what we were getting at the beginning, just following George Floyd's killing. So it's not really working out. On the other hand, you know, more officers are coming in, and like I say, it's what is keeping me up at night. Other cities can look forward to this. You know, some citizens will support it. You know, they don't like the unrest, and we have a, you know, a sort of law and order president who, you know, some would say is playing to his base. So, you know, I think people in Portland aren't appreciating that this sort of political theater is playing out in a city that doesn't necessarily, you know, support him. Honestly, I mean, just in the core of Portland. So
I understand.
That's
Beth, I know you have to leave. I know you have to leave. So I want to say thank you very much. We'll look forward to following your work. Everyone, please follow Beth on Twitter. She is an amazing photographer whose work has worldwide attention, has brought worldwide attention to what's going on there. So we're very grateful, Beth. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I want to quickly shout out to your other guests too, because they're doing really great work. I'm excited to see what you're doing, Randall. And I want to tell Mr. Foster that sometimes I drive by the Skanner. I think about it a lot. It's such a unique place with a long history, and I always want to go in the building, and of course now, and kind of just have a tour. Now we're in a pandemic, and we're in an uprising and everything else, but maybe some point he'll allow me to tour the Skanner. That's it.
That would be amazing that you were able to connect. So thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thank you to Beth Nakamura for being here. Please follow her on Twitter. She's an amazing photographer, and we're sorry about the audio problems that we had. Mr. Foster is still with us. We're going to bring him onto the stage in a minute. Randall, you were going to just talk. We've been talking for a bit. Let's get your thoughts.
Yeah, just to reflect on what's going on. I mean, for me, it's pretty infuriating. It's just because we've seen this time and time again in history where people are voicing the changes they need. They're saying a system isn't working for us, and yet we're met with direct opposition, violent opposition from the people that are supposed to protect and serve us. And it shows that they're trying to perpetuate a system that isn't working. So for me, it's sad that we're in 2020 and we can't have a conversation about the system and find a compromise, or not even a compromise, just figure out what works for the majority of people. And especially marginalized people who have experienced oppression and exclusionary laws for as long as we've been in this country. So for me, just to see how the response to peaceful protests and the response to what people are demanding being handled the way it is with, I guess it's non-lethal munition, but it's being used pretty lethally. People are losing eyes, like you said. There's people in the hospital fighting for their lives. And so for me, yeah, it's definitely, I know a lot of people are angry. I know when I meet with the Black community, they're angry. And we're talking with some politicians to represent us and get some clear demands. And hopefully, who knows if it's going to get worse, but I know that the concern is that it's going to get worse. And that's just, it's frustrating. But I'm also happy to see so much support. I mean, what is it, 50 plus days straight in the streets. So that is beautiful to see. And I know that change will come, but it's just really frustrating to see how we are being opposed by the people that are supposed to protect us.
Thank you, Randall. I just want to say to Mr. Foster, he had me on his news website, and then I had the Skanner on my newsletter that ran yesterday. Folks, I hope you'll subscribe.
Thank you.
It's called, my newsletter is called sreenet.substack.com, SREENET.substack.com.
We will subscribe to it.
Thank you. I'm honored. And in it, we talked about what is happening with, I said that what the federal government is doing in Portland is an abomination. And we talked about some of the security theater that is happening. What Trump is doing is very likely doing this for show, in part to just as a campaign tactic, but the consequences are very real. People are getting hurt, people are getting injured, and the fact that this is even possible in this day and age is so outrageous. We want to, before we go back to Mr. Foster and Randall, I just want to bring you some greetings from people around the world. Jonathan Borstein says greetings from Union Square in New York. You should all know that before we started, Mr. Foster said that everybody in the world should be forced to live in New York for 30 days. And I want to hear his explanation of why that is. It sounded like a punishment almost.
No, it's not. I just happen to think New York have so much diversity, so much interesting, so much attacks, non-attacks, nice people. You just got to know how to fit in New York to get around it. And I just love going there. I used to walk through Soho. I just think Queens, Bronx. I had a long story. I had a good friend up in Brooklyn, and I used to go all around with probably before you got time with Mayor Dinkins. You probably remember him.
Yeah, I was here when. Yeah, I was here with him too.
It's a good friend of mine run a newspaper back there called the Daily Challenger. So I spent a lot of time in New York. So I just think everybody that live in America should be live in New York for at least 30 days. You'll get a better understanding of the world.
You have not done, but you have not done that. You've only visited us. You haven't chosen to spend the 30 days.
No, I love Oregon. So I've been 45. I love Oregon. I just want to say one other thing. I'm listening to young men talking about the issues. One of the things that on our website, there's a lady, her name is Maxine Fitzpatrick. Maxine was one of the early Black women developers here in Portland, okay? Maxine Fitzpatrick. So if you go on our website, up in the right-hand corner, you'll see that search bar and type in Maxine Fitzpatrick.
I'm doing it now, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead, please keep talking. I'll find it.
She did a piece a couple of weeks ago. It was called Black Folks Know the Issues and the Solution to Their Problem. White folks aren't listening. We got that one story, we got pretty close to 31,000 hits of that one story. But not for us, that's a lot. That story there. I suggest everybody should read that. I sent it to my lottery director. I sent it to all the powers to be, and but they didn't comment other than to say that it was well written and very thoughtful. And I said, well, then y'all need to do something about it. The governor got an executive order that was signed in 2018, and one of that executive orders talk about opportunity, young man, but nobody's implemented it. All the department heads has supposed to have so much minority participation all through the system. When they buy their glove, clothing, fruit, anything they buy, they're supposed to have 10%. That's an executive order. It's signed by this current governor, but it's not being implemented. So I'm saying, well, why don't you implement it? It's simple. Just implement what the rules are. And I found out, I hear Black America don't sue. We don't sue like the rest of them. So I'm telling you, young man, get your colleagues down there and look at some of this stuff. And then if you want to know some law firms, I know a couple of good ones that may take that on. It's just amazing. But that article Maxine did, man, I got all kind of traffic on there. Bill Diaz did one too. Bill Diaz did one this week. It would talk about the right of free press and what that means and so forth. Very good pieces of work, and I love the work, and I'm encouraging everybody to read those articles.
Thank you. We will, and I love these quotes. We have solutions. Black people are problem solvers, the best, and in our answers is a truth. And the truth is, when we do better, the world does better. And we also know the opposite is true, right? When white America catches a cold, Black folks catch pneumonia. That's one of the problems as well, isn't it?
Very well said. Very well said.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's not original to me. I do want to say to Mr. Foster that I have a picture here of me with Mayor Dinkins. As you can see, I love taking selfies, and that's my that's my photo on my Venmo. I should basically just show my Venmo, and everybody can send me money. But just to say that I want to ask Randall if he's been to New York and spent any time here.
I have not been to New York. The furthest east I've been is Chicago, and I'm a hip hop artist. Actually, that's kind of how I've started this. I know. That's kind of how I started this. I had a platform through hip hop. That's why taking Ownership Pdx was able to build such momentum so fast. Is that people know that my music, it's about social justice and it's all about bringing people together and community organizing. So they already knew. And I've been doing this in the city for a long time. But no, I haven't been to New York. I do plan to get out there. I became a dad at the age of 19, so it's been pretty tough it's been an uphill battle since becoming a father at such a young age.
We should say your babies are not those babies anymore. Give them a shout out. No. Give your babies a shout out. Tell us about them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, they're the reason why they're my engine, they're the reason why I've been working so hard my entire life. But my sons, Tavian and Cambrian, big shout out to y'all. They're great kids. They're honestly, I couldn't ask for better sons. They're amazing.
And they're now 15. They're now 15.
Yep, they're 15. They're gonna be sophomores in high school. Just wonderful young men. And
How are they handling the pandemic? Because it must be tough on them, right?
My sons are handling it very well. They're okay with hanging out in their rooms alone, and they're teenagers, so they can just shut out the world and hang out on their Xbox.
Oh,
But I have to pull them out the room and get them to read something or hang out with me, or they're totally fine. It's pretty amazing how isolated they can be and be just fine.
my twins, and it's great to meet a fellow dad of twins. They're 17, and we put them on our on the show to get kind of their perspective. Mr. Foster's children are slightly older than that.
But older than you guys.
Not older than me, older than him. I'm 50, so older than Randall.
Just a little bit older.
Yeah, just a little bit older. Let's keep going. Rajan says hello from Long Island. Anand says hello from Andhra Pradesh in India. Paula says hello from Tallahassee, Florida. Have you been, Mr. Foster? We know that.
Yeah, I've been to Tallahassee. Been to Tallahassee too.
Okay, good. Stefan is pointing out he likes the fish in my background. So I got to tell you a story. I got kicked out of my last studio, which was my neighbor's apartment, because the neighbor's coming back. My kids and wife don't want me in the apartment because I'm too loud and doing this all day. So I've been relegated to one corner, and it happened to have a TV. And I said, you can't have just a empty TV. So we put a fish tank in there. And Laurie's watching from Westchester County. Linda Bernstein says, thank you so much for doing a second show on what's happening in Portland. Her sister, Barbara Bernstein, who has a show on KBOO, KBO, the radio station, was with us. And
I know her sister.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Everyone, please go in my archives and watch that. YouTube.com/SreeNet. You can see the whole show. Here's a question. Is there any chance of a small mistake by either side will lead to deadly violence? It's sort of happening already, isn't it? First, Mr. Foster, and then Randall.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, no question. So somebody was shot night before last, and I don't think the police was able to respond to it. So, yeah, it's getting out of hand.
Yeah,
it's getting out of hand. I just want to make sure that we keep the focus on the Portland police. You can't lose sight of this Donald Trump stuff. It's the Black Lives Matter and Portland police, where we got to live here day in and day out. Let's not lose track of that. And I want to say, my next suggestion is that you keep demonstrating, but you got to change the policy. I just mentioned earlier was the police chief didn't know the First Amendment. So you got to get in there and change the policy. If you don't change the policy, they're going to keep doing it over and over, because it's going to come back. And they're going to come back with the same old stuff.
How do you explain
with the same results?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Randall, how do you explain why, when people are asking this question, why is this happening in Portland, where there are, of course, Black activists who are protesting, but obviously this is mostly whites against whites, as we see it on TV. How do you explain why that is? Of course, Portland's also what we said, the whitest big city in America. But why is this happening in Portland from your point of view, Randall?
I think Portland's always prided itself. I mean, we are the whitest city in America, but I think we've always prided ourselves on being progressive, and liberals call themselves progressive. And I think when this all took, everything went down with George Floyd, I think it's a perfect storm. People are sitting at home quarantined, and they've been calling themselves progressive for years. Now they have to show that they're progressive. Now they have to take action. And I think it just showed that, I think people want to show that they're truly allies. And they're showing it. And they're stepping out there, and they're looking to make some change and listen and learn and change their ways as well. Because though we have been a city that calls ourselves progressive, gentrification has been rampant in the city. There will be white families that will move in and displace a Black family and then throw a Black Lives Matter, sign in the window. So I think that's what it is. I think they're just trying to prove their progression.
Let me just add another twist. Portland, we probably comprise about 4 to 5% of the population. So it's not. So when you see people, you don't see us as much, but we're there. But a lot of times we just it's just that not that many of us, so people just don't see it. It's not like Chicago or New York or those people where we are just out there. You don't see it because the numbers don't match to what we see. I think that's another element to it.
And that certainly makes sense. And the press reacts to what we see on TV and the cameras.
Well, action, violence.
Linda says, thank you, Bernie Foster, Linda Bernstein. And Neil says what Linda said. We need to understand what's going on in Portland and other cities. We need to get to the source ourselves, and we need to hear what's happening. Stefan says, sorry to cover you, Mr. Foster. Legendary photojournalist Paula Bronstein is in Portland documenting the situation as we speak. Follow her, he says. Her work reflects the eye of a dedicated humanitarian and conflict photojournalist. And then, we have the trolls coming in and saying, these are not rallies, these are riots. What do you say to that, Randall?
Well, I think people are angry, and I think that people get agitated, and then by the police, by the feds, and then they get angry, and I guess it turns into what they think is a riot. But I know that in what I've experienced, and like I said, I haven't been out in a lot of them, but in what I've heard from my fellow Black community is that they always start out peaceful. They always start out as just a rally where they're just speaking their mind and expressing themselves, and then something happens where some violent act by police or feds happens, and it agitates protesters.
And that's how things happen. Let's to take a look at your Twitter feed. I know you said that you're not always using Twitter, but people can find you on Bandcamp, right? And your news song, Mind Twisted. Tell us about that.
Oh, so that song Mind Twisted in particular is just kind of like my own internal dilemma between remaining a conscious rapper or selling out and becoming like a mumble rapper. And so that way I can actually start making some money off music. But it's more a lot of my music is satirical as well. There's a comedic element to it as well, and that song definitely has that in it. But if people want to find me, I don't use Twitter a lot. Maybe I should start, but I'm on Instagram, Randall Wyatt SM. I'm also on Facebook a lot, just Randall Wyatt.
Great. We'll find Randall with one L. So you give
one L. Got to make sure it's one L.
You gave back the second L, right? Like you leave off the last for saving.
My middle name starts with an L, so.
Oh, okay. But may I play this rap right here?
When life tries to knock you down, get up. They might try to knock you on the up and up from the rock bottom. Pardon me, as I rise from the rose garden. Started as a seed, then I parted from my feet. Kept following my heart, but I found it hard to eat, so I marched on my feet. How far can I reach? Yo, I guess I'll never know, but let you spark up the beat and let me speak about this art that I'm preaching. When life tries to knock you.
All right, that was beautiful.
I haven't even seen that video yet.
Oh, really?
I'm glad it wasn't too bad.
No, it was awesome. I love it, and I want to hear more, so I'm going to check you out. How can some people support your efforts, both your music, but also your Take Ownership Pdx project?
Well, with Taking Ownership Pdx, you can go to the website, which is takingownrshippdx.com. And there's all kinds of ways to get involved.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. So on that website, you can either donate monetarily, you can sign up to volunteer, and they'll ask what your skill sets are. So how can we utilize you as a volunteer? And we have some legal stuff we have to get lined up before we can really start using volunteers, because we want to make sure we cover everybody. And you can also, try to partner with us if you have resources that we can use. I've just partnered with Renovate Pdx, who is helping us with pulling permits and kind of just, they're architects, so they really understand how to build and take things apart. So, and then we also have just partnered with the African American Alliance of Home Ownership and a lot of that. So, just finding us resources and going to that website, you should be able to do all that. Also referring Black homeowners and business owners so we can do the work. And then for my music, my music's on any kind of platform that you use to listen to music, iTunes, Spotify, whatever it may be. If you like it, buy it. That's about it. Come to a show if I'm in your city when this quarantine's over.
Well, we got to get you to New York, and you got to come to the birthplace.
Please do, bring me.
Mark Lee is watching in North Carolina, and he says this is madness in Portland. He says he had been on my show. We asked him what can allies do for our African American friends, and he gave us lots of advice. I'm going to ask that of Mr. Foster. What can allies do for the African American community in Portland and all over the country? What do you say to them?
First of all, then one of the things I think that's really, really important is for them that show their support. If it can't be financially, then it can be editorial opinion, reading our paper, support, comment on certain things we do. Write the mayor. It's very, very important. Write the governor and tell them what you don't like going on and how they treat their black citizens. So that's my call to all our black citizens out there. The mayor and the governor should be here to hear from you and voice your concerns about what are they doing and how they treat black folks here in Portland, Oregon. It's always good to get that kind of support. Because as I say, we, as Maxine said, we know the solution. Sometimes white folks are not listening.
Thank you. Randall, your thoughts.
I have to agree with Mr. Foster. I will also say, have those tough conversations with your family. If you're an ally, I know it can be, at the dinner table, talk about race relations, talk about the injustices you see. Check your friends when they make comments or or actions, because that's the type of stuff that's going to change people. Is when your own people start checking you on some of your racist ways or things that you say. And yeah, absolutely, just listen to black people and let black people lead this. That's the big thing. Is like let black people lead this and say what we need. And I think that is a good start, as well with what Mr. Foster said.
And Apollo's watching from Las Vegas. Have you been to Vegas, Mr. Foster?
Oh yeah.
Can you tell us anything? Are there any stories you're allowed to tell?
We should have I'll just tell you, I'm a big fight fan, and the last big fight fan I went down, I saw Reddy Bowl and Evander Holyfield.
Oh, that was a big fight. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the fights, there was a place called Sadie's, soul food place, and when Reddy Bowl won it the first time, he didn't train the second time. He was hanging at Sadie's all the time. Of course, he lost the fight the second round. Okay. So that's what I remember about that. It was a good place, good soul food place.
But not if you're training to be in a heavyweight fight.
Well, I just like fights. I'm not a big gambler. I go down there for the fights and just hang out. And I go to North Las Vegas. That's why the black community is supposed to be.
Is that right? That's fascinating. Our friend Apollo came and told us what was it like he was on my show about Vegas, and then he told us what it was like to be African American living in India and dealing with the police and the people there.
Never been to India.
Okay, we got to get you there, and we have two tasks: get Randall to New York and get Mr. Foster to India.
But I want to go with someone I know.
All right, we'll go together. Okay, we'll
don't go by yourself, man.
No, we don't want you to go by yourself. Randall, can you tell us anything about Vegas that you're allowed to share?
I've been to Vegas a couple times. I would say a number of times, and it's not the place for me. It's not the place for me. I have pretty severe anxiety, and that place is just like everything that would make me anxious in one pot right there. So and I always end up going in July, which is like
hot. Oh my God.
And then there's lights everywhere, and it's so many people, and so maybe right now would be a good time for me to go.
But you know why a lot of people end up in July and August? The hotel prices are lower, and conventions have big hotel blocks that they get. I went once; it was 112 degrees, and you never left the hotel because if you tried to leave, you may not make it out. It was so bad. Mark says that he got his first job. Mark Lee says he got his first job in the black press at the Carolinian, and Mr. Sherway was his publisher. And if you can,
the name?
Gervais, Jerva.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, Mr.
Okay.
Foster, can you explain the role of the Black press we have a global audience that doesn't know enough? Teach us about the Black press in America.
Well, okay. Let me just
And
sort
you
of
can
give
do it
you
in 60 seconds. No, I'm kidding.
okay, a quick history. The first black newspaper was published in 1863, and it was published because they could not publish in your city, New York. And the reason they couldn't publish in New York because they protested evil slavery, so they left and went up to city of Brother Philadelphia. That was the first black newspaper, and that was Samuel Cornish and John Worshorn. They started the first black newspaper, and they only lasted about 6 months. But that was the first part of Freedom Journal. Frederick Douglass was the publisher. So Ben Hooks, president of the NAACP, and right now there exists now about 200 of us that's publishing today. So, but we still carry the torch, and there's still a need for us, and we'll probably still be around. Maybe not in the print that we used to be, but we will be around.
And we salute you for the hard work that you do to tell the stories of the African American community in the Northwest. You're based in Portland, but you have folks out in Seattle who support for you as well, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's awesome. So before I let you both go, if you can each give me your final thoughts. Randall, we'll start with you. Just take your time and share what you've got a global audience. What do you want them to know?
Well, I want you to know that you can support Taking Ownership Pdx at takingownershippdx.com, and that's a very important part of us as a marginalized community to build generational wealth. Exclusionary laws and redlining, and just the fact that we've been displaced has caused us to not be able to own, property at a high rate. We already have a small black community here in Portland, so it would be great to start creating homeowners so we can pass down some of that to our children and have secure housing. And so if you want to support, that's a great way to support. And I would appreciate it. And I know the black community will appreciate it because this effort is getting a lot of support right now.
Thank you so much. I wish you the very best, and I look forward to taking you to dinner or having a drink out here in New York City someday.
Me too. I can't wait.
Thank you very much. And everyone, check out Taking Ownership Pdx and check out Randall Wyatt and our friend Lauren Gaucher, who was here last week. We thank her. We had just a great group of speakers last week as well. Mr. Foster, your thoughts?
Couple of things. Bill Diaz did a piece today, and it's on our website, and he talked about the First Amendment, and he talking about what's happening with the police rounding people up, where people can't peacefully demonstrate, where people can't walk the street without being rounded up in a car. He's talking about the First Amendment right, and he summed it up in this way. At the end of it, and I know you heard this before, our founding forefather said that he gives us a democracy if we can keep it.
Yes, we have to keep it. We have to earn it, right? That's one of the things we have to do as well. We wish you both the very best. I just want to remind everyone who's here watching now, you go into our episode 131. Today's 138. We had Barbara Bernstein, Lauren Gaucher, and Eder Campuzano with us, who's a reporter with the Oregonian. Lauren's a founder of the Progressive Realtors PAC, and Barbara Bernstein is host of Locus Focus, a weekly environmental show on KBOO. So please check that out. Please thank our guests who are with us here today for being with us. Randall Wyatt, Beth Nakamura, and Bernie Foster. We're so grateful. And I have some administrative stuff to do. We'll let you get back. It's dinner time for you folks, right?
Absolutely.
Out here, it's 10 o'clock, so we can keep going out here.
And thank you for allowing me to be here and share my thoughts with your audience.
Thank you. You're awesome. Thank you so much. I learned a lot and truly appreciate that too. Thank you very much. We'll let you both go. Thank you, Randall. Right. And thank you, Mr. Foster. Thank you all for watching. Before you leave us, we have two more things we have to do. We have to thank our sponsors, and we also have to say their names. One of the things we do on this show every single day is after talking to Kimberly Crenshaw, the professor who coined the term intersectionality, we asked her, what can we do to support African Americans? And she said, say their names, say the names of those who are affected by police brutality. So we're going to do that as we always do. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support. Let me show you what exciting shows we have coming up. Tomorrow, we are looking at life-work balance. It's a work-life balance. Sabrina Cadini is with us, author of Live Life Fully, holistic life coach, brain fitness coach, and teaches life-work balance instead of work-life balance. She'll be here tomorrow. She has a new book out, Live Life Fully. We also have later in the week an important show around the topic of meeting a terrific AIDS activist. Mayor Sean Strubb will be here, the mayor of Milford, Pennsylvania, author of Body Counts, a memoir of politics, sex, AIDS, and survival, founder of Pause Mag, executive director of the Zero Project. In 1990, became the first openly HIV candidate to run for federal office. And Jonathan Burstein is with us. He has watched 143 episodes of the show. He's an amazing writer, and he's with us, and we're grateful to him for being here with us. We also have another show we want to tell you. On Thursday, we have Oren Siegel with us. He is fighting hate during COVID, is the vice president of the Center on Extremism. He's part of the ADL, a leading anti-hate organization. Our co-host is Jennifer Lazarus, VP of Business Development and Strategy at my firm, Digimentors. She's at I am Jenny Lazarus, so please follow her. We have a lot going on this week. We're always grateful to everyone who supports this show by watching it, sharing it. Tag a friend right now. They can watch this later. Share it with them. They can watch this later. Please support them, and please support the show. We're always looking for guest ideas, speaker ideas, as well as looking for sponsors. So please let us know. With lots of great comments coming in. Both the guests are terrific, says Sudha. Thank you, Sudha Parekh. I salute them. We salute you. And Sudha says, thank you, Cindy. Somebody named Cindy wrote in. I'm not even showing her. Says, I guess me. He says, you're an idiot and you don't speak for the citizens. I didn't claim to speak for the citizens. The citizens of Portland speak for the citizens of Portland. And we had three great folks on it here with us talking about what's happening in Portland. So important. And Rajan says, prayers and blessings to all of you. You're doing important work in a scary time for us as a nation and a society. Very, very important. And thank you all for being here. Now, let's say their names. We used to say their names by looking at these pictures, by using the pictures that you see here, and saying the names from the Time magazine cover. Here you see Titus Kaffer's stunning painting of a mother and child, and on the right, that's a picture that many of you may not have seen. A young George Floyd with his mother, Larcinia. She would die 2 years, almost to the day before he would be killed in Minneapolis. They're now both buried in Houston. But instead, we're going to save their names by looking at this list that Rahajan and others pointed me to. It's called the Say Her Name Report. Names like Breonna Taylor, killed by police in her bed on March 13, 2020. And I'm going to read these names, and I ask you, how many of these names have you heard of? Sure, you've heard of Breonna Taylor, but have you heard the rest? Every name I say here has a story. Tatiana Jefferson, Charlena Siobhan Lyles, Corinne Gaines, India Kager, Sandra Bland, Alexia Christian, Maya Hall, Megan Hockaday, Janisha Fonville, Natasha McKenna, Tanisha Anderson, Aura Rosser, Shanique Proctor, Michelle Cousseau, Pearlie Golden, Gabriela Navarez, Yvette Smith, Renisha McBride, Miriam Carey, Kayam Livingston, Kayla Moore, Shelley Fry, Melissa Williams, Shalana Weldon, Alicia Thomas, Chantel Davis, Charmel Edwards, Rekia Boyd, Cherise Francis, Ayana Stanley Jones, Tarika Wilson, Catherine Johnston, Alberta Spruill, Kendra James, Latanya Haggerty, Margaret Laverne Mitchell, Taisha Miller, Dante Daniels, Danette Daniels, Frankie Ann Perkins, Sanji Taylor, and Eleanor Bumpers. How many of those names do you know? How many of those stories do you know? Not enough. And that's the point. And that's why we say her name on the show, and we say the names of the men and the women on the show. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for being part of this family that has come together for 138 straight days during the pandemic. I'm so grateful to everyone, starting with our sponsors. And again, big shout out to our sponsors, Muckrack Academy, Fundamentals of Social Media, free certification now available, mrac.co/social. Please check it out. We also want to tell you about another show we do, my Sunday New York Times read along. We read aloud the Sunday New York Times like crazy people every Sunday morning. Yesterday, we met Anthony De Palma, foreign correspondent, focusing on Latin America, Mexico, and Cuba. Don't miss that. You can go and find all of these on my archives. We also had our friends at She's on Call, and they had a back-to-school edition. Just go to She's on Call on Facebook. You don't want to miss this episode. Infectious diseases specialist, Dr. Heather Klaus, Dr. Sally Goza, president of the American Academy of Pediatrics. Such a critical set of questions we talked about. And Donna Mazik, RN, executive director of the National Association of School Nurses. And we want to thank our first video sponsor,
Hotstar Premiere Nights. Watch the year's biggest blockbusters streaming straight to your screen, exclusively on Hotstar.
Hotstar Premiere Night kicked off this weekend with the world premiere of the new film, Dil Bechara, starring the late Sushant Singh Rajput, with new music from Oscar winner A.R. Rahman, streaming free on the platform right now. Our friend Apollo's already seen it. He said it's a tearjerker. Hotstar brings you the newest Indian movies with subtitles, plus entertainment, cricket, live news channels, and much more. Check out hotstar.com/US. And our final sponsor, Nunbelievable.com, divinely delicious cookies on a mission. Each box of handcrafted cookies purchased provides 2 meals to those in need. 20% off with the code SREE, SREE, SREE. Check out Nunbelievable.com. You don't want to miss this. And I want to tell you about a show we did on Friday, Netflix's Indian Matchmaking, a top 10 global show on Netflix. And we had Smriti Mundra, the executive producer of Indian Matchmaking, was here. As she's also the Oscar-nominated director of St. Louis Superman, about an amazing story about an African-American in St. Louis. And we were also joined by one of the participants in this reality show or documentary, Vyasar Ganeshan, as well as M.R. Rangaswamy, founder of Indiaspora, and our monthly series with Indiaspora. That's it for now, folks. We're looking for your story ideas, guest ideas, speaker ideas. Nominate yourself, nominate a friend, nominate people who should be on sharing their wisdom, expertise, insights with the world. Thank you, and greetings from my new set where we have these fish behind me, or these fish in quote marks. I am very grateful to all of you for being here. Email me, sree@sree.net, SREE@sree.net. Follow me on Twitter, and please subscribe to